Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be working with Leetcode problem number 21, where we're going to be merging two sorted lists. The whole concept for this question is going to be that if we're given two sorted lists, over here we have in the example 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, in which those lists consist of a bunch of list nodes. And so the one is a separate list node, 2 is a separate list node, and we can see the properties of those list nodes. They have a property val and a property next, where val holds the current integer or the value of that list node, so the 1, 2, 4. And the next is kind of represented by these arrows where uh, it tells which list node the current node is going to point to. And so if we look at the example that they gave here, we have 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. And so as we move along the lists, we want to compare the two list nodes that we're on, and based on that, we want to add to our sorted list or not. And so that's the basic idea. We see here 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. And the final result we should get is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And so that's kind of the whole idea of creating of this problem. I actually copied and pasted it over here, and we can get started on the problem. So first I need to add L1, L2. So those are the two inputs that were given for this problem. And so the first thing we need to do is we're going to have to loop through every single node and compare the values of those nodes. And so we're going to have L1 over here and L2 over here. And so if L1 is less than L2, we're going to append that or add that to our sorted list. And so to start off, I'm going to first create our sorted list. I'm going to create a dummy node called, if I can type, list node 0. That's just gonna be a dummy head that we're creating at the very beginning, and then I'm gonna create another variable called list and assign that to dummy head. And so what this is doing is that essentially we have 1, 2, 4, we have 1, 3, 4, and then this is gonna be our sorted list here. And so what I'm doing is I'm first creating a 0, and so this is gonna be our dummy node. And so what I want to do is that not only do I want to create a dummy node, I want to keep track of a parameter so I can start appending to that dummy node, or not appending necessarily, but adding to that list. And so over time, if I add a 1, I add a 1, I add another 2, I add a 3, and then I add 2 4s at the very end. I want the dummy head to still be 0, and then I want the list to loop through the whole sorted list. So we go through 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. I want to keep moving my list over so that I can keep appending to this list that the dummy head is in. But then at the very end, since this dummy head variable is just going to be the first list node, I can just return dummy head.next. And so I hope that makes sense. All I'm using is that dummy head is going to stay at the beginning of the sorted list, and the list variable is going to move along the list so I can keep adding to it. And so that's the whole point of the dummy head and the list. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say while L1 and L2. And so the reason I'm doing this is because say we get to a point where the second list here has more values than the first list. What I want to do is that once I get to the end of this list, I'll add some more actually. Once I get to the end of this list, that means I'll probably either be around here, or I'll at least have finished up till this point, up to the 3 in the second list. Once I add the 4 in the first list, I know that the rest of this list can just be added on to our end list or sorted list at the very end. And so in that case, I want to make sure that I have both an L1 and L2, because if one of them is not there, then I know I can just add the remaining of the other list to my sorted list, if that makes sense. And so in this case, if this is L1, and this is L2, if I finish L1, I know that starting from here, I can just add the rest to L2. I can add the rest of L2 to my sorted list. And so that's the whole point of having while L1 and L2. I want to make sure they both exist. And now what I want to do is I want to compare their values. So I'm going to say if L1.val is less than L2.val, I want to add to our I want to add to our list. And so I'm going to say list.next is equal to L1. I'm going to move the list variable over, and I'm also going to move my L1 over so that I keep moving along the L1 list, and I'm also moving along my list or my sorted list. And if that's not the case, I'm just going to say else list.next is going to be L2. List will be equal to list.next, and L2 will be equal to L2.next. And so that's going to keep going until we either finish one of the lists or we finish both the lists. And so in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check if L1. So this is the situation where we finished looping through the L2 list, and there's still some values or nodes remaining in L1 that we haven't looped through yet. And so if there is still L1 remaining, that means we know that we can add the rest of L1 onto our sorted list. So I'm just going to say L1 list.next is going to be equal to L1. If L2, I'm going to say list.next is going to be equal to L2. And at the very end, I'm going to return, not list, I'm going to return dummy head. If I can type .next. And so this is the whole point of leaving our dummy head at the very front, or at the very first element at our 0 node, that once we finish appending to our sorted list, since our dummy head is at the beginning, we can just say dummy head.next, and that's going to return the rest of this sorted list, because this 0 was just there as a placer. It doesn't really do anything or mean anything. And so all we're doing is we're just saving it there so that we can return the .next property of it so that we get the rest of the sorted list. And so that should be it for merging two lists. Let me enter a spacer so it's easier to read. And so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this over into our Leetcode editor here, and we'll give it a shot. We need that. Okay, so list is not a very good name. So dummy head, while L1 and L2, if L1.val is less than L2.val, list.next is equal to L1, list dot wrong one. This should go here. Yeah. L1 is equal to L1 dot next. Else list dot next is equal to L2. List is equal to L list dot next. L2 is equal to L2 dot next. And then if L1 list dot next equal to L1, if L2 list dot next equal to L2, return dummy head dot next. And so I think that should be it. I don't believe I'm forgetting anything. Yeah, it looks like I've added everything. So I'm going to run the code here. Wrong answer. Output 11244. Okay. So we're now looping through one of them. Oh, I have a typo here. Okay. Let me try running some of the other test cases to make sure they work. I don't have the typo here, right? Yeah, I don't. So that one works. just so you guys know, I tested this case here, and then I also, let me run this test case. So that works as well. So I'm just going to submit now because that was all the test cases that they had, and it works. So this is how we can merge two lists. This is how we can solve the Leetcode problem for merging two lists. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys, and see you guys in the next one. All right, later.